Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev. Hi, thanks for tuning in. This is Kerry. It's been a while since I did an update aside from my monthly forecast. It was a rough winter. Let's just leave it at that. But I wanted to get back into the swing of doing this updating via podcast for my listeners and followers. And today what's inspiring me is the sign of Aries and the planet Jupiter. So I am recording this on April 20th, 2023. And this is just after a solar eclipse that happened last night. Mostly people in Australia got to see that. But that eclipse was really centered on the sign of Aries. So when we talk about Aries, it is the first sign of the zodiac. And the symbol of the ram works, I would say, for even Western and Vedic astrology. It sort of agrees on the ram thing. So Aries is a fire sign. It's the first sign. It has a masculine nature to it. We see outer results when we're talking about Aries. So there's a lot of initiation. There's a lot of getting going. There's a lot of how are we going to plan? How are we going to get our strategy together? What is our mission in the sign of Aries? So last week we had the sun enter into Aries on the 14th of April. And the sun is exalted in the sign of Aries, meaning it fires on all cylinders and does its most powerful work. So the sun loves being in Aries. We have that going on. At the same time, we have Rahu that has moved into Aries about a year ago. So for the last year, Rahu, and just to give you some context, Rahu is the north node of the moon and considered a shadow planet, an eclipse causer, and destabilizing, chaotic, ingenious. There's a lot of interesting keywords that go with Rahu. So about a year ago, Rahu got into this environment of Aries where we have all of this initiation and pioneering and getting going. And just last week, we had the sun come in to join. Now, Rahu is really an abstract point in space that when the sun and moon align with Rahu and its counterpart Ketu, that's when we get eclipses. So we have an eclipse pairing, meaning two eclipses, twice a year in most cases. Sometimes it's more. But this year, we have two eclipse pairs. And so whenever the sun gets into the same sign where those nodes are, Rahu and Ketu, we're going to have an eclipse pair. So this year, we're having it in Aries. So again, actually, like last year, it was sort of happening when Rahu was moving into Aries. We had the eclipse time. So this year, we're solidly eclipsing in Aries. And eclipses are dramatic. I mean, people get very, kind of feeling like, oh my gosh, the world's going to stop. In a way, that's kind of what happens. We have just a second where there's, the darkness covers the light of the sun, and it's weird. Even back in history, when people were watching the sky, there were omens of sometimes ill portent or sometimes good portent, depending upon how that eclipse looked to them. So the way I take it is it's kind of like a pause button. It's like we're suddenly stopping the presses for just a second. We're turning the lights out. We're rebooting. And this eclipse is happening in Aries. Again, the first sign of the zodiac. The directive here is let's start something. We can end something, and then we can start something. So that's all happening. This eclipse yesterday was because the moon and sun were together with Rahu at the new moon. So we're going to have another eclipse on May 5th. And in between, some interesting stuff is going on. So tomorrow, Friday, April 21st, the first thing is Mercury is going to go into retrograde motion. This is a normal thing that happens 3 times a year. This year, we're having Mercury do that in fire signs. In this case, Aries again. So when Mercury is retrograde, there's a lot of energy going on. There's another factor that's even boosting that more right now. So Mercury rules exchanges, communication, transactions, markets, money. So when Mercury goes retrograde, sometimes those type of things can go haywire. It's almost like it's getting too much fuel. At the moment, Mars, who's the ruler of Aries, by the way, Mars is all concerned about power and protection and strategy. Mars happens to be in one of Mercury's signs, and so they're doing a change-up. So there's a lot of fuel. If you've felt irritated in the last few weeks, it's probably because of this Mars-Mercury exchange, possibly. So, and Rahu's also there. Rahu tends to amplify everything. And now we've had this eclipse, and now Mercury's going retrograde. That's going to be from April 21st through May 14th. So rather than thinking, oh no, everything's going to fall apart, we can't do anything with Mercury retrograde, try to use what you have. When Mercury's retrograde, it's good for revamping, it's good for redoing, revisiting, editing, remodeling. So, take the stuff that didn't work the first time, call that person back, try again. Use that Mercury retrograde energy. Realize that things do go haywire. Slow down. Triple check. Laugh when something goes wrong. Because it might, that's your choice. So Mercury is retrograde at this time. And then later on in tomorrow, April 21st, Jupiter is going to change signs and move into Aries, which is going to put a lot of energy in Aries for a little while. So Jupiter is one of the outer planets. He moves pretty slowly compared to Mercury and the Sun through the zodiac. Jupiter spends about a year in each sign. Last April 2022, Jupiter entered his own sign of Pisces. We didn't get a lot of good results from that, although there was some promise, because of other planets affecting the outcome of things. So life is always a struggle, never a straight path. So now we have Jupiter joining Rahu, and for a short while the Sun and Mercury in Aries. Jupiter will be in Aries until next April 30th, 2024. And for the first 6 months of that, through October of 2023, Jupiter will conjoin with Rahu. That is a lot of energy. It can be very fiery. This happened back in 2016 when Jupiter and Rahu conjoined in Leo, which is also a fire sign. So both of these planets, Jupiter and Rahu, will be in a fire sign, and they both have the power to affect the other fire signs. So Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, I'm talking to you. Jupiter and Rahu in Aries for the next 6 months. I mean, it could be explosive, but again, use what you have. This is energy for change and growth and forward movement and starting a new thing. Remember, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So this Jupiter in Pisces in the last year has been in the last sign of the zodiac. There's a lot about tying up loose ends with Jupiter in Pisces and integrating lessons and completing things, learning your lesson, moving forward. So today, right this minute, Jupiter's on the border between Pisces and Aries, and we'll push through that tomorrow. So from tomorrow onward, we have potential for a lot of movement, growth, but maybe not in a straight path. So remember, we still have to have patience. Saturn, ruler of patience and delays, will be aspecting all of these planets in Aries, which could be our signal that we have to remember old lessons and we have to not expect everything to happen all at once. And if it does, we have to be able to manage it anyway. So a lot of mature advice from Saturn. Slow down. Realize you can only take one step at a time, even though it seems like very overwhelming. So that's all happening, guys, and in the next few weeks. So let me know what happens to you. If you want a personal reading, you can get on my webpage and figure out how to make that happen. I appreciate everybody listening. And when I feel like there's something else to tell you, I'll chime in again. Have a great day. Take care. Jai Guru Dev, Jai Guru Dev, Jai Guru